Welcome back to another episode of the HU and Beyond podcast here, hosted by HU Enrichment. As always, for your host, it is I, Steven, bringing you the vibes. And as always, if you're interested in learning about some college perspective as well, from students, alumni, any such, be sure to check out our other podcast, HU Flow, for more good stuff there. But today on HU and Beyond, I am joined here by Kammas Kirsch. Now, Kammas, first and foremost, thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Hey, glad to have you. So the first question I like to ask you is kind of give our audience a brief understanding of what you currently do for a living.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Kammas Kirsch. I work at the Chester County Intermediate Unit in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and I am a STEM Services Coordinator.
Okay.
So you probably don't know what that means, though.
Right. Could you give us an idea of what exactly that means?
Yeah. It's a job I didn't know existed, but I have the pleasure of overseeing the STEM programming in how we support the schools and districts in Chester County and beyond. So that includes things like esports, computer science, problem-based learning, working with robots. It's a lot of fun stuff.
Okay. And how long have you been doing this type of thing for?
So I've been at CCIU for almost 2 years now.
Okay. So to kind of like jump back to the very beginning, growing up for you, right? Were you always thinking you were going to do something related to like esports and any of this aspect with STEM learning? Or was it something completely different?
No, I thought I wanted to go to med school.
Really? Med school?
Yeah.
That is quite the switch up. So
there's still STEM involved, but I think that's about it.
Right. So originally, why was the focus on med school?
I really liked science. I was always really interested and passionate about science growing up. And so it seemed like a great way to get to do science as a career. And I like people. I've always really liked helping people.
Right, that makes sense. Okay. So where are you originally from?
I grew up in southern New Hampshire, about 45 minutes north of Boston.
Okay. And then for life growing up for you down there, was that kind of inspiring you to kind of think about medical stuff more, or was it something you probably touched on more as you got into middle school or high school?
I actually was interested in science and medicine, but really science since I was really little. And I think I had great teachers that let me investigate and discover a passion for science. I can name really specific teachers down to like second and third grade. And so I think I was, really inspired by the educators in my life. So looking back, I'm not surprised I landed in education.
Well, as we're recording this, it is Teacher Appreciation Week. So, shout out to all the amazing teachers that do a thing that inspires people like Kammas to do awesome things. So shout out to all those teachers. So on the topic of those teachers, they gave you that basically that ability to be, hey, I just want to do my thing, but also your guidance helped the way. So as you're kind of guiding the way through middle school, through high school, when it came to college, where did you end up going?
Well, when I was looking at going to college, I was living in New Hampshire and I did not want to go to school in New Hampshire because it was very cold and I don't really like the winter. So I was looking at schools that were a little more south. So I went to the University of Delaware. It's where I ended up. It was a great choice.
Okay. So, and at Delaware, what did you major in?
I started as chemical engineering in pre-med, and that lasted about 6 weeks until I discovered that I really always had a passion for education. And so I majored in chemistry education with a minor in physics.
Ooh, okay. You got a minor. I don't got no minors. So you're fancy with it. So, so you did something that's very unique. Well, not unique. It's something that most people fear of, which is switching your degree during college. Now, based on your opinion, obviously, since you went through it, did you have that kind of doubt in yourself when you were switching your degrees? Or was it like...
I would say it was like a soul searching couple of weeks of, having doubt in no longer thinking you wanted to do the thing that you always thought you wanted to do, worrying, what if I switch? What will the implications be? What if I hate it? What if it doesn't work out? And I was really grateful to have both family and friends and professors that were able to guide me. And I felt really confident to find something else.
Okay, cool. Because I know for a lot of people, especially those if you're watching, your college student, they fearful of making that switch, especially if they're too deep. I understand that, it's okay to make a switch. I think you just need to understand where exactly you are and given the circumstances. So when you made that switch, were you still a freshman or a sophomore already in college?
I was still a freshman. I made the switch in my first semester.
Okay, so you had plenty of time then because you're just pretty much
Yeah.
getting used to it. But for those, if you're still like a sophomore, junior, there's still a chance. So don't worry. Will you graduate late? Maybe. I don't know. It all comes down to your situation. Now, with you, okay, so you went to college, you got this degree with a minor. How did you end up working for Chester County?
That's a great question. So I spent my senior year student teaching and convincing myself that I was probably going to hate education when I graduated. Like having like this like career crisis of like, oh no, what if I hate it? What if I hate it? And I don't. I love education. But it's okay. Like there are so many things you can do with your career, regardless of what you graduate with. So by the end of senior year, I did decide that it was okay if I found something else to do with my career other than education. But I started teaching at St. Elizabeth High School in Wilmington, Delaware, and I became a chemistry teacher. And then from there, I became a science department chair and a tech coach. So I was coaching the teachers in my school, helping them implement best practices, leading my department, and all of that kind of like teacher leadership and development led me to want to do that full time. And that's when I left the classroom to join the intermediate unit.
Wow. Okay. So all kind of went hand in hand because thing led to another. And then here you are now working for Chester County. And you said you're doing that for 2 years now. So now, so when you started, then you started back in, was it early 2020?
That's a really interesting story. So the pandemic hit in mid 2020, as most people remember, the same week that I had accepted my offer to leave St. Elizabeth, and the same week that I was helping to develop digital learning plans to take sorry, my dog would like to be on the podcast,
It's all
to
good.
take our school to virtual learning. So I completed the semester, saw my students through to graduation, and began at Chester County Intermediate Unit over the summer.
Oh, whoa. So you're working like two different jobs at the same time from the sounds of it.
Well, I hadn't started at CCIU yet.
Well, okay, but
I
no
told them I would.
way.
I told them I would come work to them. Like in the back of my mind, I was like, "Oh my gosh, all of these things are happening at once. I'm changing jobs. The pandemic is happening. What is the world coming to?"
Right, because next question I was going to ask you, how did the pandemic affect your kind of like that switch to the career? And I mean, you kind of answered it in itself by saying like, yeah, you had to balance all that. So, well, then my other question would just be, how did you manage to balance all of that and like mentally?
It was really hard. Um, I knew I was leaving the classroom. My students didn't know I was leaving. A lot of my colleagues didn't know yet that I was leaving. At the same time that I was, really committed to the work I was doing with my students and my colleagues and helping to make sure that our semester of virtual learning was successful. At that point, we didn't know that it, might be much more than a semester, but
Mhm.
it was definitely challenging. And then I began my work remotely at CCIU, at an organization that was largely in person prior to the pandemic. So it was certainly not impossible at all, but it was challenging, and I think it was really helpful to set some boundaries and try to leave my computer in my office, or force myself to go for a walk at lunch so that I saw sunlight. And you know when you care super deeply about your work, which I'm sure you can really dive so deep into it that you forget to make time for yourself. And that was something that I learned even more about myself during the pandemic.
So, of course, that's understandable. I mean, a lot of people were working from home, unfortunately, because of the pandemic. Some people probably had a harder time than others with that because their jobs are varies. So, with you guys, because I know a lot of you got a lot of. I remember last year you guys were hosting a big esports conference on Zoom.
Yeah, our summit.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. So, talk to me a little bit about that. How was like the process of like putting that all together going for you guys?
Yeah, it was really interesting to put together events on Zoom. And it wasn't the first event I did on Zoom. It was, one of the bigger ones that we did with HU. But
Hmm.
earlier that year, we had hosted a career fair with HU in December for like 350 students online. And it's really unique to plan for those kind of situations. You have to think about having, just like at you host a conference, you have somebody at the sign-in desk, you have people and bodies to help make sure things run smoothly. You still need those people on Zoom. You need somebody checking the chat, somebody letting people in from the waiting room, somebody make sure you don't get Zoom bombed, plus presenters, plus lining up a schedule and sending out invites. So it sounds like it should be a lot easier. And I mean, I guess you don't buy lunch and you don't have to have a janitor clean the room after, but otherwise, like there's a lot of logistics that are still involved in hosting a Zoom event.
Wow. Oh, so could you, I'm sure I know what the Zoom bomb is, but could you explain to people at home what Zoom bomb is?
It is when an unwanted party joins a Zoom call.
Exactly.
Typically sharing something that might not be safe for work or school.
Exactly. And so everyone, all the memes you've seen on TikTok or Instagram or YouTube, that's a thing that happens even in the professional field. It happens. I've seen it. It's not, sometimes it's funny. Sometimes it's like a little bit not appropriate for the work environment. So please avoid doing that if you are someone who would do that. But in any case, so you did a lot of cool events, especially that one. I know the summit and then the one before the fair. Sounds like there's a lot of moving pieces to this. So how do you guys go about organizing these? Well, at the time, because I'm assuming now you're kind of doing more of a hybrid model with since the pandemic's kind of calmed down a little bit.
So we're kind of doing both. We've actually found that a lot of people prefer either fully online or fully in-person events. Okay. So while we do some things in hybrid, we're not doing quite as many things in hybrid as I thought we would be, because that just doesn't seem to be a lot of our customers' preference. Mm-hmm. But when we plan an event, I think that the biggest thing that I have learned is that we don't do it by ourselves. We have a lot of people that make the magic happen. We have people who specialize in event logistics, and they are magic makers. They understand the beginning to end, always thinking about the customer experience. And when you attend an event, you just want it to be awesome. You don't think about, how did somebody plan for you to experience the event the way that you did? But there's somebody that has to think about that. What's on the screen when you come in? What kind of questions are you being asked? Is it interactive? Is it one-sided? Are there opportunities to collaborate in small groups or ask questions in smaller groups? So we want to get feedback at the end of an event so we can learn from it and follow up with participants. So there are a lot of components to it. And we have some systems in place that make planning easier. But largely, we have a collaborative model. We rely on our team. And I rely on my partners like HU that help me do things that I couldn't do alone. And we love working with HU for that.
Hey, that's awesome. So with so you talk about like there's a lot of moving pieces. There's a lot of partnership that's involved. So it's kind of like that motto. I think our president Dar says at HU about someone waking up to this problem. So they're focusing specifically on that problem. That way, everyone knows what's going on, or at least someone knows this is something they should be concerned with. So with you, right, to kind of focus more on you, what's like a day in the life for you at work feel like? How does it start? How does it end?
Every day is different, which I'm sure a lot of people say about their job, but it's really true. So I'll go through last week, for instance. So there were days last week that I was in meetings, either on Zoom or in person. Sometimes I'm in the office and sometimes I'm remote. So sometimes I'm in meetings a lot of the day. But then Tuesday, I was outside all day and I gave an outdoor watershed experience workshop for the day. There are days that I drive to other intermediate units to go visit them. Friday, I got to be a food critic for an organic chem class as they were learning about molecular gastronomy. So I get to meet with teachers and lead workshops. I get to meet students, come up with new ideas and creative solutions for problems that either currently exist or we can tell are about to exist. So there's a lot of different things that happen in my days.
Okay. So That's kind of interesting because it kind of reminds me of my boss, Shani, because most of the day she's either in conferences or probably in person doing something or being sent somewhere. So I can see definitely how like your days never usually, okay, I'm just doing this. I'm in the office all day. I'm doing this. It's always a rotation. Do you enjoy having that rotation? Because especially because of the travel aspect of it, because I've seen you going to a lot of places. Sometimes you're not doing a thing that you typically would do the day before.
Yeah, I love it. I love that I have a lot of variety in my job and that I get to support a lot of different people. Sometimes supporting people means going and doing it, right? Running a workshop, meeting with a teacher, meeting with a student. But other times supporting people means empowering my team to go out and do things. So that makes me really excited too. And we're able to do both. So I love the work I do and I like the variety that it provides so that, I like that my days aren't the same.
Okay. Yeah. So, because I would think that if you're always doing the same thing over and over time, it just kind of like brings down the mood for you as a person and maybe makes you want to reconsider, hey, do I want to do this as a career? I feel like a lot of people do that. So, with you though, because another part of your career focuses really on esports as well. So, I know we haven't really touched heavily on it because we just talked about the summit. But with the esports element of you guys, what specifically do you guys kind of focus on expanding in the intermediate unit when it comes to esports?
Yeah, so I am the director of the Pennsylvania Scholastic Esports League, PSEL. We are the NASF affiliate for Pennsylvania, but we also run a number of our own programs to support Pennsylvania esports clubs, students, coaches, teachers. So when we're looking to expand our programming, and we're only, a little over 2 years old, so we haven't been around very long, but as we're looking to expand, we try and make sure that we're serving the needs of the people that we're trying to serve. So for us, esports is about connecting students to places of belonging, giving them activities that connect them to STEM, like computer science and graphic design and all those different things that you can get into through esports, and making sure that educators feel supported to provide those experiences to students. So we expand student opportunities, we expand educator supports, and then we try to connect all the dots and make sure that it's a cohesive experience.
Okay. Are there any type of programs that you guys offering or things of this nature in terms of esports related stuff that you guys doing right now?
Yeah, we're wrapping up our spring season. We ran middle school and high school in Knockout City, and we are grateful to our partners at Ellen Studios for helping us with that. We are getting ready for some Chester County specific events in the next couple weeks. We're doing a Chester County esports exploration around Rocket League and shoutcasting. And then we're running a camp actually with you guys. In July with the AG Storm is going to come down to Chester County and help us facilitate a really unique learning immersion experience. And we're going to run a book study virtually over the summer for teachers using the esports education playbook. So yeah, lots of stuff on our radar right now.
Awesome. And for those curious on anything she just mentioned, be sure to check out the links in the description as well on this podcast episode or on YouTube if you're watching it on YouTube. All right. And then in terms of summer camps, richmond.harrisburgu.edu for all that stuff. So you got a lot of stuff planned specifically for esports around the summertime. For you though, how much do you think it's important for those to really get a proper understanding of esports? Because for a lot of people, they just think video games and that's it. But for us, it's a lot more deeper than that.
I love when people are able to, experience esports because I think that's one of the ways that you really get that understanding. And I didn't know a whole lot about it before I got involved with it. You don't have to be an expert to get involved or to help students get experiences. You certainly have to be an expert to be, like a high level coach or a high level athlete or all of those kind of things. But to give students a sense of belonging, you don't have to be an esports expert. You just have to have an open mind. So there's a lot of ways to do that.
Awesome. So 2 more questions for you. My first question is, when it comes to advice you can give to people in terms of doing what you're doing, what type of things would you say?
So if you're interested in education leadership or STEM leadership or esports, I would say get involved in those fields and talk to people that do that work. Whether you're in high school and you're trying to decide what you want to study in college trying to decide what you want to do afterward, talk to the people that do the things that sound interesting to you. I have a job that I didn't know existed because I pursued things that make me happy and bring me joy and that I felt like I was pretty good at. But there's a lot of jobs out there that, are brand new. So talk to people that do work that's interesting to you.
Awesome. That's some really good advice. And then my last question for you that I would like to ask, is there anyone you like to say thank you for getting you along this path, or you want to give any brief shout outs to while you're on the podcast?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I should have gotten a heads up on this question.
Oh, no. I don't do that because then people have a list. We ain't giving you the list.
Well, I do. I have a mental list. So you mentioned it's Teacher Appreciation Week. And I'm really grateful to the teachers that helped guide me through middle school and high school, but especially the teachers that have guided me in my career from University of Delaware, the professors that I still go back to and ask questions to, all the way through my first principal. And, so many of the staff members that I have, met along the way at St. Elizabeth, as well as the incredible leaders I've worked with at CCIU. I can't say enough good things. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my Apple Distinguished Educators community. They are creative and exciting and innovating people, and they always push me to try new things and do new things. So, all those different communities, find people that do things that are interesting and make you better and are better at things than you, and hang out with them and learn from them and ask them questions. And that's a really great way to learn.
Awesome. I'm surprised you didn't also say your parents, because some people just go with their parent route because they just say.
Well, I was really stuck on Teacher Appreciation Week, but of course, thank you to my parents.
It's all good. I just throw the reminder because some people forget. It's okay, but shout out to everyone else included too. But all right, first and foremost, thank you, Kammas, for coming on the podcast and giving us some very insight into your career that you didn't even know existed till recently. But it's definitely a career now that people will definitely know about. Thanks to yourself and the podcast putting it out there. So thank you for coming on. We greatly appreciate hearing from you. And for those watching, thank you for watching. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for listening. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Anchor FM. We'll be back again next time with another episode. With who? Well, this is May, so it's going to be a very education-based month. We're going to have a lot of educators come in and talk to you guys about their field, whether they're teachers or someone like Kammas doing stuff with esports in Chester County. For any information about Chester County, be sure to check the links in the description for anything related to. If you're from the Chester County area, be sure to check us out in the summertime. They have a camp with us, HU. Please come through if you want to. We'll have it on our website. As always, for your host, this is Steven checking out. Thank you again, Kammas, for coming on, and we'll see you guys next time on another episode of HU and Beyond.